Let's get to our 5 headlines. We start here. All right. Number one, the perceptive among us, really from the beginning, knew that the Me Too movement was a fraud. It was ideological. It was anti-male while masquerading as an ethical movement, which it never was. Now, if you need more evidence of this, even after all these years, then I would point you to Katie Hill, disgraced former congresswoman who had a special announcement yesterday. She says, I can finally announce another exciting project. I'm so honored to be played by the iconic Elizabeth Moss and thrilled to work with this incredible team. Guess I'm about to add movie producer to my resume. And there's a link to an article about this movie. It's a movie about Katie Hill, lionizing Katie Hill, with feminist favorite Elizabeth Moss in the lead. I think she's the one. She does Handmaid's Tale, right? Isn't she in that? I have no idea, but that's probably why the feminists like her. Meanwhile, Katie Hill resigned from Congress, if you recall, following a scandal in which it was revealed that she was sexually taking advantage of her staff members. She had involved one of them in a threesome with her then husband, and there were other major ethical problems as well. Remember, we have been told by Me Too that power dynamics make it so that even consensual relationships oftentimes are not really consensual. Okay, yes doesn't always mean yes. This is what we've been told. The power dynamics between a Congress member and a staffer make it so that consent is not fully possible. This isn't my argument, okay? This isn't what I'm saying. This is the Me Too argument. This is what they say. And according to that argument, Katie Hill is a predator, according to them, if they were to apply their logic consistently, which of course they don't. Now, you don't have to take it from me, though. An apparent former staff member commandeered Hill's congressional Twitter account, which has just been sitting there, after she left or resigned in disgrace. She had her Twitter account, which she doesn't have access to anymore. And this morning, there were some tweets coming out on that account, blasting the movie, saying that Hill took advantage of her subordinates, caused them harm. This is what the tweets say. Hill now claims that the account was hacked, but there's no reason to think it was hacked. Her staff would have had access to that account, and it looks like they're using it, or at least one of them is using it, to say, hey, she was a pretty horrible boss, and she took advantage of her staff. Maybe don't make a movie about her where she's the hero. But Hill gets her own rules. She doesn't have to play by the same rules as everybody else. You want to talk about privilege? Here it is. She's the protagonist in a film about her own sex scandal. You think any disgraced Republican politician would ever get that treatment? Exact same circumstances, okay? Would that ever happen? No, of course not. Number two, now, it's long been my contention that Bill de Blasio of New York is not only the worst mayor in history, but also possibly the cringiest dork in history, too. I think he might get that title as well. If you don't believe me, then watch this. Yes, that was de Blasio heroically in slow motion with the music playing, putting a mask on his face. They took a video of that. Puts the mask on, then offers an awkward salute as well. I don't know who the salute is to, but he does, and then he walks back inside. Look, wear the damn mask if you want, okay? But stop trying to make it into a heroic, manly act on your part. Biden is doing the same thing. Here's a video from the Biden campaign yesterday. So you see him there. It's supposed to be contrasting him with Trump, and you see him putting on the mask like a champ while Trump takes his off. How heroic. This is what it takes to be a hero now. Just put a mask on. It's that easy, which is great. I guess I'm a hero too. Every time I walk into a grocery store and I have to put the mask on because I'm forced to. Actually, it's a heroic act. I'm a hero. All right, number three. Meanwhile, speaking of dumb theatrics, with the VP debate coming up, there's been this back and forth between the camps, Biden, Trump camp, over putting a plexiglass divider between the candidates on stage. Now, Pence initially balked at this idea, but has now agreed, has relented. And you could see them putting up the divider there. What does this achieve? They're 12 feet apart. They both tested negative for the virus. What does the glass divider achieve? Well, nothing. I mean, if one of them could manage to infect the other, despite being negative and asymptomatic and being 12 feet apart, if they could somehow pull off that trick, then the glass barrier probably won't do much anyway. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of much of a point here, at least medically or scientifically. But of course, we know that the real reason it's there is for two reasons. Number one, the Biden campaign wants it there because it gives the impression that Pence is sick and weak and infected. It's bad optics for him. So that's all that this is about. It's just to remind the public as they're watching the debate, oh yeah, that's the sick guy over there, even though he's not. And that's what this is really about. But also, number two, it's part of the COVID theater that we've seen all across the country for months, where measures are taken, things are done, often with no apparent scientific justification or reason, with no rationale behind them, really. But the idea is that at least if we're doing something, it's better than nothing, even if the something is totally arbitrary and ineffectual. And we've been in that kind of culture for a long time. It's not just with COVID. We've been in this culture where, there's a bad thing that happens, or there's something we have to deal with, and the cry comes out from the public saying, do something, just somebody do something. I don't care, just anything. You get this anytime there's a mass shooting, and you have many Americans who say to the government, the federal government, just do something, just anything, just do something. And they go and they pass a law. Is the law going to help? Is it going to actually achieve anything? Does it get to the core of the problem? No, but it's something. And so we should be satisfied with that. Getting a lot of that with COVID as well, and it's ridiculous and not actually helpful. Okay, number two. So this is a story that I've largely ignored, and for good reason, I think. That's the story of Claudia Conway, the daughter of Kellyanne Conway and George Conway. She's been on social media, mostly on TikTok, it seems, embarrassing her mother, spilling secrets, things she claims are secrets anyway. This is a 15-year-old girl we're talking about here. Sometimes recording her mother without permission and posting it online. Again, the girl is 15 years old. And the leftist media, they love it, as you'd expect, because they have the ethical sensibility of a tarantula. So for them, this is great. They see no problem with it. In fact, you can see in the headlines, a few headlines here. We're told that the 15-year-old Claudia Conway is the whistleblower of our time. Now, the way they're taking advantage of this girl is obviously sick, and the sexual undertones of some of this stuff from the left is even sicker. I mean, look at this from Neil Brennan, who's a comedian apparently on Netflix, no surprise there. And he says that Claudia should make an OnlyFans account for White House intel. OnlyFans. Talking about a 15-year-old. So that's all disturbing and gross. But I keep going back when I see these stories, I keep going back personally to the question of why this girl has a phone with the internet in the first place. If this were my daughter, and I understand the family dynamics here are, and far be it for me to dispense parenting advice, okay? And the family dynamics are very strange. At least from the outside. I mean, there are complicated family dynamics in any family, right? But still, I mean, if this were my daughter, I would take her phone, which I am paying for. I paid for the phone. I'm paying for the service. I'm paying for everything. So it's my property. It's not hers. And I would take my property, and I would bring it out into the garage, and I would grab a hammer and I would smash it with a hammer, and then I would throw the pieces in a garbage can. That's what I would do. So I'm not sure why she's allowed to continue having a phone. But then again, look, this is coming from me, and I'm someone who I can't really see any reason why Any 15-year-old person should have a phone with the internet on it. There's really nothing good that can come of it, period. There is no net positive to your child, even at the age of 15, having a phone with the internet. Nothing good. So all you can hope is that the damage it does, which you know it will do, won't be that bad. So at that point, it's all about damage. You give them the phone, which you have paid for, and you've purchased it with your own money, and you hand it to them, this thing that you know is going to do damage, and now all you're doing is damage control. What about just not giving them the phone? If your kid gets to an age where they actually have a job and they can go out and buy the phone themselves, maybe that's a good cutoff age for when they can have it. If you can buy it with your money, even then, if they're living under your house, it's your rules. And if you tell them they can't have, even if it's their money, it's still your house. You can have the rules you want. But I could see an argument there. If it's their money and they're earning and that's what they want to spend it on, then there could be a good lesson there. But when it's not even their money and you're paying for it and buying it, going out of your way, spending all this money on these expensive gadgets that you know will hurt them, I don't see it. I don't know. I don't see the parenting strategy. I really don't. Number 5, finally, they got him, folks. This is it. They finally got him. They have proven that Donald Trump is actually, as suspected, literally Hitler. Literally. Okay? Matt Danzico, a self-described journalist and filmmaker, he has, on Twitter, taken the video that Trump released of him returning from the hospital, and he's juxtaposed it next to the Triumph of the Will, which is a Nazi propaganda film from the 30s. And what he found is stunning, okay? Just watch this. You can see it here. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, what we're seeing here is it matches up exactly. The two videos match up exactly, shot for shot. You can see it right down the line. Stunning. Apparently, the Trump campaign decided to do a shot-for-shot remake of a Nazi propaganda film. Because why not? Well, I can think of many reasons why not, actually. And I can't think of any reasons to do that. Even if you are secret Nazis, why would you do that? The whole point of being a secret Nazi is that you don't let people know. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. Although it starts to make sense and becomes less confusing when you realize that, oh, no, wait. They didn't do that at all. This is total nonsense. It has over 20,000 retweets on Twitter, of course, but it's total, absolute nonsense. What Danzico actually did is he took a 2-hour Nazi film and he searched for shots that resembled the Trump video. And all the Trump video is just simply helicopter lands, Trump walks out, and then he's on a balcony. That's it. That's all the video is. Now, if the video lined up that perfectly, like if the Triumph of the Will was also just a 2-minute video and the shots lined up that perfectly, then even I would admit, well, it's probably, that's probably still a coincidence, but it's a hell of a coincidence. Except in this case, no, they took a 2-hour movie, or this guy took a 2-hour movie and searched through cherry picking the same sorts of shots and then just lined them up, edited it, stitched it together he made his own Nazi propaganda film. This isn't that what you just saw there. That's not Triumph of the Will. That's Matt Danzico's Nazi propaganda film that he created after the fact. He created it based on the Trump video and then said, wow, these things really line up. Who would have thought? How did that happen? Well, I know how it happened. I did it myself. Now, the problem, of course, is that you could do that with any political ad. Okay, you could take any political ad probably, and you could find in it probably a few shots at least that resemble some Nazi propaganda. Oh, look, they're both waving on a balcony. You know what else? You know what else you could do? You could search through Mein Kampf, I bet, to find the same words. You could find, I bet you there are words in Mein Kampf that are also in other books. In fact, I have my copy of Mein Kampf right here, and I could even just looking through it. Like for example, the word of, the word the, both in Mein Kampf. My God, think about this. Of and the and of. Where do those words sound familiar? The Art of the Deal, the Trump book. Wow. The Trump book is essentially Mein Kampf. Incredible. Anyway, by the way, this is not really Mein Kampf. Just so you know, Media Matters, this is not really Mein Kampf. This is Bill Bryson, a short history of nearly everything. I don't mean to impugn Bill Bryson in this way. This is actually a great book, and it's got nothing to do, just to clarify, it's got nothing to do with Nazis or Hitler or anything like that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.